Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm sorry if the lighting's like really weird on my head. This light is on and I don't know. I didn't want to turn it off because then it gets really dark. But anyway, we are going to be doing another pregnancy video. So this video I'm going to talk about how I knew I was pregnant, when I knew I was pregnant, because I knew a long time before I got a positive test. I have like over here on my dresser, oh man, I don't even know. It looks like maybe like 15 tests or so that I've taken because, well, I'm a pee on a stick addict and that's just kind of how it works. Currently, I am 6 weeks and 3 days along. And fun fact about 6 weeks and 3 days, the baby is the size of a chocolate chip today. Isn't that kind of weird? So first I'm going to talk about how I knew I was pregnant and really how I knew I was pregnant before I was pregnant, honestly, because, well, I just kind of knew. I am really big on natural family planning and just tracking yourself. I react really badly to birth control pills, and so I have chosen not to take them, and I know that natural family planning is not a perfect method for preventing pregnancy, or it's easier to try to use it to get pregnant than it is to try to prevent pregnancy, especially if you're somebody like me with a really irregular cycle. So keeping the really irregular cycle in mind, and that I was using natural family planning and I was tracking myself, I don't know when I ovulate. And most people are like, oh, you ovulate on day blah blah blah, 14 or 17 or whatever. No, not for somebody like me. If you have PCOS, endometriosis, any other type of issues that cause you to have really weird cycles, you don't know when you're going to ovulate. You don't even have any type of fabrication in your brain as to when ovulation is coming. So I started taking ovulation tests around cycle day 8, I believe. It was cycle day 8. And there's been times where I've ovulated on cycle day 9. There's been days where I've ovulated on cycle day 14. And in this case, I ovulated on cycle day 17, I believe it was. Now, what had happened is I took an ovulation test earlier that morning and it was totally negative, no line on the ovulation test, nothing at all. And then the deed was done later that morning and my husband went to work, and I always take my ovulation tests in the morning and at night. And so later in the night, I took the ovulation test and it went from having no line in the morning to being totally 100% positive later in the day. So at that point I was like, yeah, that's probably it right there. I've had 3 people tell me that they've dreamt that I'm pregnant and all kinds of stuff. And so it was like everything was starting to connect together. And so even though when you get the positive ovulation test and you do the deed, sometimes those two things, even if they match up perfectly, do not equal a baby, especially if you have infertility issues, which I've been told I have, but clearly I don't think I believe that because I've now on my 3rd child and none of them were really truly planned. So with everything being said, I kind of knew when I got that ovulation test that, yeah, this is probably the month. I'm probably having another baby, and that's that. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. So a couple days went past, like 5-6 days went past, and I started having some cramping. And for me, it's like cramping means that your period's coming, cramping means that you have implantation, cramping means you had too much Chipotle. I don't know. It can really mean anything at all for me. When your cycles are so irregular, you just don't know if it's coming tomorrow, if it's coming 3 weeks from now, if it was supposed to come yesterday. You just don't know. So for me, I just didn't know if I was supposed to be getting my period then, because it had only been like 5 or 6 days after I ovulated, and at the earliest day like 7-ish, maybe 8 after I ovulate is kind of the earliest that I'll get my period. I usually don't ovulate and then get it like the next day or anything like that. So I knew that like 5-6 days was a little bit too soon for me to be getting my period, but at the same time my cycles are kind of crazy. So as soon as I had the cramping, I'm like, this is probably the first sign. I'm probably getting some type of implantation cramping. And then later on the following day, I started having some light spotting, which again, when I get my period, I don't have spotting. Before it's like nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like a dam broke and the water's like Like, that's what happens when the time of the month comes for me. And so I don't get a little bit of spotting before my period. It is like, open the floodgates, they are coming. So then, since I had that spotting, which I never have spotting in the middle of my cycle unless I am on some type of birth control. When I was on the mini pill, I tried to do the mini pill for a little bit, but I had migraines and I was sick and it was not good. When I was on the mini pill, I would have spotting here and there, but obviously I wasn't on anything at the time, and I knew that that wasn't something that my body regularly did. So that was my second thing that led me to believe that I was definitely going to be pregnant this month. Next, let me tell you, something that happens in all of my pregnancies, and something that probably happens in a lot of people's pregnancies that they don't necessarily contribute as a pregnancy symptom, is heartburn. I get wicked heartburn. I have heartburn a lot normally, but I could be eating bread and get heartburn. I could be eating nothing and get heartburn, and then obviously spicy foods, but then at the same time I could also have spicy foods and not get heartburn. Like, my body's weird. So the fact that I was having heartburn at the exact same times as my other two pregnancies led me to believe that I was probably pregnant, and at that point I'm like, well, this definitely looks like it's gonna happen. Like, at that point I was like 95% sure that I was going to be having a third baby. Then the real reason why everybody knows they're pregnant is the pregnancy test. I decided to take one really early. Really early. The first one I took was on cycle day 25, and that would be 9 DPO. Now for me, any of my pregnancies I've had, I've never gotten a positive test prior to 13 DPO, so for my body that was really early, and cycle day 25 was also pretty early for me as well, but sometimes I get my period on cycle day 25, so I figured, they say test on the day of your missed period, but I don't know when my missed period really is gonna be, and I still, this cycle, I can't tell you what day I would have missed my period because, you know, sometimes I have like a 19-day cycle and sometimes I have an 85-day cycle. I don't know when my missed period is. So I took the test on 9 DPO cycle day 25. It turned out negative, which I'm like, you know, that's okay because it's still early. I've never gotten a positive this early anyways, and I mean that is really early for me. I mean, that was 3 weeks and 3 days pregnant that I would have taken that test. Then I decided to take another one the following day, and I took one of the little internet cheapies that you get, like the clinical guard cheapies, and it showed up with the faintest of line. I mean, this was like, is there a line? Isn't there a line? I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know what's going on. And I was pretty sure that there was a line there. If you want to watch a video that is already uploaded, you can go ahead and click on that and watch me look at it and watch my face be like, oh, it's positive. But I wasn't really 100% sure if it was positive, and I know, like, it sounds so stupid to think like there's a line there, it's not positive, but in your brain it's like you see a line but you don't see a line, and you see a line and you don't see a line, and you really question yourself about whether or not there's a line there and whether or not that test is positive. I ended up having class that same day. I go to college. I'm working on a master's degree in special education, pre-K through 4, and so I take 4-hour night classes, and I had to go to my class, and so I left the house, I went to my class, I told my friend Alexis, I, you know, talked about it with her, I showed her the test, but it was like, can't see the line on the screen, it's really hard to see, if at all, on the screen. The only time you could really like see any type of visible something other than the control line was when I took a picture with my T3i camera, my like professional filming camera. You could kind of see it then, but yeah, it's kind of questionable. So I went to class and I decided I was going to run out to Target and buy some extra pregnancy tests, some real pregnancy tests, some first response pregnancy tests. And I went ahead and I bought those, and I came home with them, and my husband was home. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. So I really need to know. I'm not going to wait. So I got out my vlogging camera and I was like, hey, for the vlog, do you want to take a pregnancy test with me? Because it'd be like really fun to take one for the vlog. And he's like, okay, sure. So I went and I took them, and I took a cheapie, and I took a real first response one, and I headed out into our living room and I explained to him how the test works, what happens if there's one line, what happens if there's two lines, everything like that. And I had him pull out the first response test, and he looked at it and he's like, well, there's two lines. And I'm like, well, what do two lines mean? And he's like, you're pregnant. And yes, I am. So the first response test later that night ended up having the two lines on it, and the internet cheapie that I took also had a darker line on it, which was good. My lines started to get lighter for a little bit, but then they got darker again, which was slightly terrifying, but luckily everything was okay there. So anyway, guys, this has been how I knew I was pregnant before I was pregnant, and as I was getting pregnant, and when I was actually pregnant and got the positive test, and how I told my husband about it. Please let me know if you have any questions, and if you have any concerns or comments or anything, leave them down below. I would love to answer any questions or help you if you're trying to have a baby, or if you think you might be pregnant and you need somebody to talk to. I am always here for that, so go ahead and leave me comments. I love to talk to you guys and everything. Give this video a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you get all of the notifications and you can watch our vlogs and our everyday life. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I hope it's been helpful to you in some way, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!